It was in June of 2022. The summer break had just started, and I was sitting in my desk and I was playing Fortnite. I wanted to have some background YouTube video on just to kind of like listen to, basically because I was addicted to dopamine. I was scrolling through my recommended page and I saw something unusual at that point on my two-screen setup. And on the left side of me, I had my screen that I was going to have my YouTube video on. And I scroll through it and I see a video that is titled "The Best Side Hustle to Start as a Teenager." I click on the video and I was curious from the start. Something had just sparked inside of me and someone had just lighted a fire that was going to be extremely hard for them to actually put out and get rid of. I was watching this video with interest and I saw a person that was talking about a few apps that you can use, how you can actually make some money, what side hustles to get into. And I got the idea to actually start something that is called dropshipping. It's basically when you import a product from China and you are basically the middleman. So basically you have contacted a manufacturer in China and you basically just send it over right to the customer. And I was really interested in this, but I wasn't able to take action. And I watched the video through and then I decided, now I'm going to play some Fortnite. And I played a few hours of Fortnite, but the idea was still in my head that I wanted to make money online, and I didn't really know how, because this video was a 10-minute video that was just briefly explaining every single thing that you can do, or not every single thing, but a few things that you can do to make some extra bread when you're young. And today I will talk about the specific two-step method and the framework that I've used to actually figure out what I want. Because now, instead of actually starting with making money online or something like that, I actually built myself the best foundation that will set my future self up for success. And that has actually led me to gaining some great results right now. I'm making money online. I actually have a few different things that I'm doing right now that is actually bringing me fulfillment, money, enjoyment, happiness, growth, contribution, etc. All of these things are very, very important when it comes to you wanting to improve yourself. So if you feel lost as a student, this is the complete blueprint because it's a very simple system. Now I'm actually going to dive into the whiteboard right here. That's why I'm actually changing my chair up. So I've just told you my story. And what are some results that I've gotten from this two-step framework that we're going to use? It's basically mindset and then how to figure out what you want and actually how to actually gain results with it. So what are some results that I've accumulated? To put it very, very shortly, my achievements with this has been that I have, last year, I worked out over more than one time per day on average. And this was because I was actually disciplined enough to take myself to the gym. I monetized a history YouTube channel. I started to make money from it from YouTube, and I haven't really made that much money from it, but it's still decent. I put in a lot of effort. And another thing is I've actually got a six-pack. I built a pretty aesthetic physique. I have great grades. Like I have top grades in most of these subjects, and like Ace is the top grade in my country, and I basically got that in almost all subjects and with many very, very minimalistic studying. So however, it's very, very important that you understand that these things have came from me building a great foundation, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But first of all, you need to understand what your new mindset needs to be in order for you to actually start making progress. And the first thing that you have to understand is that everybody is clueless to a degree. What do I mean by this is that everybody feels a little bit lost. Even I do. Even the most successful people on the planet. For the first time that I actually heard this, I hadn't had it confirmed, but I actually had a theory about it earlier. I heard a guy called Alex Hormozi speak about this. And what he was basically talking about on this podcast was that I've met some of the most high performers on earth and the most successful people on earth, and they are all a bit clueless. They don't really know what they're doing. So it's alright to not have everything figured out. So Hormozi spoke about this, and he is like worth I think $100 million at this point. And what is very very interesting is that he has been with one of the most high level people on earth, and he's been able to talk to these people, and still they don't really know what to do with their life. They're still taking risks because you're always going to feel a little bit clueless, because in the beginning of your journey you will have this cluelessness of not really knowing where to start. When you're intermediate in the middle of your journey and you're trying to improve yourself, you will be a little bit lost because you probably aren't really seeing that many results and you're questioning the things that you're doing currently. And when you're at the top, you're asking yourself, what does it take for me to actually stay here, or for me to actually even better, make even more progress? Because if you stay here, somebody else is actually chasing you and making progress. So you have to basically improve yourself if you want to do that. And the only way it takes is just risk and trying out new stuff, especially when you're at the top. But you don't have to be concerned about that for this moment. But another thing that I've learned is that progress over perfection. You don't need to be perfect right now, because in my own journey when I started out in like 2023, I I I was just focused on progress and simply volume. I am pretty sure I heard this from Hormozy as well. It was a group of people who actually were forced to make clay pots during a semester in school, and they were basically they had two groups of people, one that were just going to make quantity and one that was gonna make one clay pot that was going to be the best one, just quality, and these were quantity. And guess who had the best clay pots at the end? It was actually the group of quantity. They were just allowed to make as many clay pots as possible during the semester, and the one that only made one clay pot actually didn't have that great result. So this highlights the importance of progress over perfection, because success looks like a J. It looks like this because in the beginning you won't really see that many results, and this is where you put in the work right here, and then all of a sudden it all pops off and it all starts to make sense. And the more you can actually go through this area with persistence and consistency, the more results you will get later on as well. So you have to just carry on and understand this, that you will actually figure it out. You will become the best version of yourself if you just aim for progress, and then later on you should worry about effort, because in the beginning it's all about gaining XP and gaining reps, and that's all it's about in the beginning. And another thing is humility and confidence. So how do we combine these things so that we do not become arrogant, and so that we become like confident in ourselves but still very very humble? So what we have to understand is that we will always be lifelong students. And a lifelong student is basically someone who realizes that I don't have everything figured out, but I know that if I just keep on learning, I will actually improve myself, and that actually brings confidence, just because you're trying to improve yourself, and you know, and you've started to prove to yourself with action that you can actually do this. And the more you try to be humble enough to admit that I am not where I want to be right now, and you actually have some confidence in actually saying, I am researching stuff and I'm trying to improve myself, and that's why I deserve my confidence, just because I'm taking action. Because when you're taking action, this is the key to finding out what you want to do. You have to take action. And the last mindset thing that you have to think of is basically to go your own way. Pursue the path that you want to. I know this is a bit boring, but I have a short story on this one actually. In 2023, in like August, when school started again, there was this guy picking on me in school, and he was basically just making fun of me, making jokes that were inappropriate, calling me different names and stuff like that. And here I was. I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I was thinking about this YouTube channel right here. And I basically spoke to my parents, and my mother was a bit like, she didn't really know if I should have started it at that point, and she basically just delayed it. And I think it was for the greater good, just because there was so many things that I had to bear through, and when I did start in 2024, I actually was at a much better point, and and she had gotten some time to actually think about it. And then what happened was that if he would have realized that I've got a YouTube channel, he would probably have made fun of me. But what is very, very interesting is that even though that person would have made fun of me, he would have made fun of me anyway. It doesn't matter, because what is interesting with the people who actually try to pull you down from like your position or your dreams that you do have, you will always have arguments and disagreements with them no matter what happens. So you may as well just pursue your own path. Because let's say this, you have someone around you who's always saying to you, oh, you shouldn't think that you are anything, or you shouldn't actually try to pursue your own thing, because most people that do, they just fail. And if you would accept their advice, that would be something else they would try to give you advice on. So the more you try to pursue your own path, and the more you try to start small with actually gaining some repetitions of going your own path, this is going to lead you to so many great results, just because you had the courage to express what was actually meaningful and interesting to you. So now we've discussed your new mindset, and the takeaway from this is pretty clear. You have to aim for progress in some direction, and you have to just realize these other things and keep on learning. That's the two most important things. So how do we figure out what you actually want to do with your life instead? First of all, you have to build a foundation first. And how do we build a foundation? I've come up with a pretty simple step-by-step method, because if you want to pursue something, let's say you want to start a business, you're probably not the person who can attract customers to that business right now, just because you haven't sorted yourself out and you haven't built your foundation. And once you've built your foundation, then you can move on to build a business. Not that you build a business and then you build a foundation, because it's like trying to build a pyramid without having the bottom. It will just collapse. If the pyramid looks something like this, it will just collapse, just because you don't have enough foundation, you don't have enough things down here. So what we rather want to do is we want to build a very, very strong and steady foundation, and then we start building on top of it. And how do we build the foundation? We have to start with small steps. Small steps, and then choosing something. And what I mean by this is pretty simple. You have to choose something that you feel like is necessary for you to actually feel good. And a few other things you can ask yourself is, what thing am I willing to suffer for? Or what would be the path that I would most like to do? Imagine you in 5 years. What would you look back at your life right now and see, what would I actually want to pursue right now for me to be the most happy and the most fulfilled at that moment? And then all of a sudden it will just click. You probably have an idea right now what that could be. And the small steps that you need to take is that you have to, what was I saying? You have to start small. And the reason that you start small is that if you start with something big, it's like the pyramid thing that I spoke about earlier. You don't have enough experience in this thing so that it will just collapse on top of each other. So what you have to do is you have to start gaining XP and leveling up. And once you've leveled up and gained like level 5, then you can move on to level 5 quests, for example. And starting at level 1, it can be, for example, improving your mental health is a very, very great one. And just getting used to take action. And what I suggest is that you start with, as soon as you get home from school, you start with something small like cleaning your room. That can be like, if you have some clothes on your floor, or your table is messy or whatever, you start cleaning that up every single day, even though you don't have that much to clean, just to get the repetitions in. Because every single time that you do clean something, you have this XP bar right here, and you maybe gain 5 XP. And to get to the next level, maybe you need 100 XP. And the more you do this, the more you will gain XP, and the more XP you gain, the more levels that you get. And the levels actually are just a reflection of the skills that you currently possess. And the action steps that you can take is making your bed and finding out a few small habits that you can do as soon as you get home from school. And this will be a bit boring, but it will definitely be worthwhile. As I spoke about, you have to build your foundation first, because if you don't have your foundation, you don't have anything set up so that you can actually go about pursuing something and actually making it work. And going back to figuring out what you want, action is the only way. So what I spoke about earlier with XP and all of these things, action is the only way, because if you don't take action, how are you going to figure it out? Because if you just sit there and you think to yourself, what do I want to do with my life? And you just sit and stare at your wall, that is very, very beneficial. It can help you. But what you need to understand is that you have to start taking action, because then you get a brief overview over what the process looks like. I was actually going to draw some eyes, but you will actually get a brief overview of what the process looks like. So for example, if you want to get into a sport, let's say you want to play like basketball, and you start just with action, you start to practice basketball like 10 minutes per day, and you just get a brief lookout on what that looks like every single day. And after maybe a week, you see, oh, this wasn't really for me. Let's try playing an instrument. Let's try to play the piano for a week. And even though you won't really get that many results, you may be feeling like this would actually be really, really fun. And imagine when I would be able to play this like A chord with this crazy variation. I don't even know what it's called when you play piano. And the more you do this, the more you will figure out. And you have to just get used to taking action, because taking action is the only way for you to actually figure these things out. As I said earlier, being quiet and spending time in silence is actually a pretty great thing, but you have to understand that to actually get an overview of what it looks like, you have to start taking action. And this leads me on to the second thing, on the third thing actually. Turn on the video game. I don't know if you already know this, but I was a big video gamer a few years ago. I played like, I would say maybe like 3 to 6 to 12 hours per day. And why do I say turn on the video game when I was playing this much video games every single day, and now I've just basically just quit that and I don't play that anymore? The reason that I'm telling you this is that instead of playing an actual video game, turn on the video game that is life. Because now, when you do this, you will actually make progress for once in a while. And once you've turned on the video game of life, you can actually, as I said earlier, you start to level up in real life with the XP. You actually direct your focus on life. You actually dedicate your focus onto the piano, for example, and you try to just see it as a video game, and the more you obsess over it and try to pursue it with all of your heart, the more you will make progress in it. So turn on the video game and see it as a competition. Compete. There's nothing wrong with competing as long as you're doing it fair and square, as long as it's not hurting anybody else, as long as you are just trying to be still a positive, keeping a positive mindset about yourself and doing it for the sake of yourself, not for other people. Because a mistake that I made was in football, I just realized this recently, was that I was trying to get this result, to get into this team just for the sake of the other team members that left my team a few years ago. So essentially what I mean by that is that if I would move into a better team than they are in currently, I could actually prove them wrong, like the team members who were in my old team, if that makes sense. I want to prove them wrong by getting into a better team. And what was wrong with that is that if I would have kept that, I would probably just lose all of the motivation, because they don't even realize that we're in a competition and they don't even think like that. So keep yourself to why you want to do it. And the last thing I want to touch on is planting the right seeds for the future. This is the current version of you that exists in the moment. I don't know why I can't draw eyes today, but this is the current you that exists. Perhaps you're happy, perhaps you're not, doesn't really matter. And this is the future. Whoa, that was a big face. And this is the future version of you. it's still the same person, but just a few years difference perhaps. And if you right now, if you have a few seeds in your hand right here, and perhaps you have something else here, let's say some type of like what is it called? Like you have like some like you can have it as you have some type of like tree or small thing right here. And instead of actually thinking to yourself, I'm just going to put this into my room, and what is wrong with this is that you will only have this result for X amount of time, and the moment that it actually goes away, you can't really do it. So what you have to understand is that you have to plant the right seeds for the future. So imagine you were walking and you were planting some seeds. What would happen is that you won't get results instantly, but you in a few years will gain the results, and you will have beautiful trees around your neighborhood, for example, just by you walking around today, planting a few seeds. And this analogy applies to basically anything that you're doing. Plant the right seeds for the future. So ask yourself, what are some things that perhaps won't give me that much of like XP today, but in the future are extremely high leverage? And the moment that you figure that out, the moment is that you will find out what you want to do with your life. So this is just a concept that has helped me significantly to, when it gets hard and when you like face a setback, or the things aren't actually going as well as you expected them to be, you just remind yourself that you're planting seeds for the future. For example, if my YouTube channel would never ever get any more views, I've still become a lot better of a speaker. I've still gotten a lot better on giving advice. I've gotten a lot better on actually creating content and being creative. Like you see here, I'm planting seeds for the future, even though I don't get like 10,000 views on every single video. It doesn't really matter to me, just because I'm planting seeds and I enjoy the process. And this is all I had to say for today. If you are the type of person who wants my personal guidance with this and wants to slingshot past your competition, you can book a free call with the link in the description, no cost or anything. I will help you out with your problems and actually help you out with feeling lost, and I will give you a complete like blueprint and everything what you need if you want to figure out what you want as a student. And this was all I had to say for today.